2 minutes till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Thirty seconds till broadcast. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Let me tell you, the response to the show has been absolutely amazing. People can't believe that a young conservative millennial continues to fight for constitutional principles, traditional values, and talks about issues that some are even afraid to talk about. But we do it because we understand the importance of this. And now we're seeing it absolutely blow up all across the nation.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
I have to admit, I'm kind of looking forward to the weekend. Just a little bit. Welcome into the Voice of Reason. Boy, do we have a lot to get to. It is a Friday. Welcome into it. I know you've been excited, not only because it's a Friday, but because it's a weekend, because it's a holiday weekend. Happy Labor Day to you if you have Monday off. We will be having a Monday off. It is not just a Monday or a Labor Day. It's also Mr. and Mrs. Voice of Reason's wedding anniversary. So we are excited about that, and we'll be enjoying that as well. Welcome in, broadcasting live out of the heartland of America, all over the country on radio, TV, live streaming on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, plus the website at HooserReason.com. Thanks for hanging out with us, especially on a Friday when you're probably already checked out for the day. Don't worry about it. We have a lot to get to. We're going to have a little fun today, as I do have a few issues we need to address, but nonetheless, we'll still have a great time at the same time. There are a few trending stories today when it comes to COVID. We have some new campaign trail messages, plus the lingering topic of voting twice. Donald Trump urging voters to vote twice. Yeah. And I promised yesterday that we would get to it. We didn't get a chance to yesterday, so I promise we'll get to it today, and we're going to do that here in just a little bit. But first, I want to focus on the main issue on why we need to be concerned about voting this time because of COVID-19. So let's get in with our trending story of the day.
What's trending today?
What's trending today is that everybody's losing their minds over COVID because we're sick and tired of it. Here in the state of Kansas, they're still trying to urge mask wearing. We've seen a lot of the businesses continue to be shut down across the nation. We continue to follow the story with Nancy Pelosi out in California with her hair salon where she can get her hair done, but apparently nobody else because they're shut down. And it was a setup. It was a setup. How dare those business people set me up to actually look bad when they said I could come and then I did it and they said that I couldn't be there. How dare they? So to talk about it, I'm excited to have him on to talk about in detail from the beginning to end because we've kind of forgotten what's happened all the way since the beginning of this. And was the lockdowns necessary? Shutting down businesses, shutting down the schools. Kansas was the very first school in the nation to cancel the entire rest of the school year last spring back in March. They were the first ones. And then every other state kind of trickled in there, and some tried to extend their spring breaks. Some of them tried to already start doing their social distancing, and eventually it all kind of crumbled with the education system. But nonetheless, it was still they did what they could to try and quote-unquote protect the children. So I'm excited to have him on here. He is a coronavirus researcher and author of the book COVID-19 Lockdowns on Trial. And as you know, with the show, we don't do it based on scripts. We just like to have a little fun and chat with him as if he's just a longtime friend. And we're very appreciative of him coming on the program. If I can speak today, it's a Friday. I don't really care anymore, right? No, we do. I'm excited to have on the program Michael Betrus here with us. Michael, how are you, my friend?
I'm well, Andy. Thank you for that.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on really much. Let's start the very beginning here. I've gone through a lot. We hear news, and it's been fun watching the Googles where you can Google a random number and say new cases, and it'll pop up because everybody's been losing their minds over the number of COVID-19 cases that we've seen in the nation. But from the very beginning, before we ask you the ultimate question at the very end of this, let's start off from the beginning. Where did this come from? How did this spread so quickly? And at what point from the spread of the virus did we start locking the nation down?
Right. So it's a fascinating thing to watch, really objectively. It's almost like if you remember from the movie Outbreak about 25 years ago, it showed these graphics of the things spreading all across the country and the world, in a matter of days. It's almost like that, the way it happened at the very end of the year, last year in Wuhan, and started trickling out first into Iran and Italy, and then eventually made its way into the U.S., and then kind of made its way everywhere. And it was really a fascinating thing to watch. It all happened within about 90 days. It had touched practically everywhere, and then to varying degrees, we've had. COVID. One thing I want to get out there is COVID-19 is definitely real. It's probably the most real respiratory virus in my lifetime. The question really at hand through this whole thing is how real, how dangerous, and what is the proportionate response? That's really what the Lockdowns on Trial is about. It's not questioning the validity of the virus or danger of it, but what was our response? What should it have been?
Well, that's the big question, and that's why I think we get a bad rep maybe on the conservative or right side of the aisle, because when we say maybe we don't need to wear masks, everybody loses their minds. They're like, what, you don't believe in the virus? You don't think that it's actually happening? When, of course, it's happening. We see people dying from it. We get sick from it. We've seen the respiratory illnesses, but we've also seen the fact that it majoritively hits individuals of older or that have pre-existing conditions or issues, especially respiratory, where it affects them more so. Do we need to do preventative measures for them? Absolutely. Do we need to walk around society with masks all the time? Do we need to shut down bars and nightclubs after 11 o'clock at night for the young kids because how dare they? They're going to get that virus if they end up taking a shot at 11:30 at night instead of 9 o'clock in the evening with their dinner and their family. But if they do it at 10 o'clock at night at a club, then all of a sudden they're guaranteed to get the virus. Like, I don't understand the havoc that's been played with this virus because they're so concerned about it.
Right. So the reason that we locked down in the very beginning was the initial model that came out from England, from the Imperial College, and you'd be familiar with this. It forecasted 2.2 million Americans in a do-nothing scenario. And what I did early on, even before that happened, was I had followed these two cruise ships that had quarantined, and they caught a lot of news in February and early March. And when the second one ported in, we ended up with 3 fatalities out of that, and they were all after the fact. And I remember thinking, dang, this was like the O.J. Bronco chase, like the way it was covered on TV with it porting in. And so when the Imperial College model came out, I started researching that. I reconciled that with all the cruise ship data. The Imperial College model data would have predicted 155 deaths out of the cruise ships, and we had 10. So there was like a big gap there. And then we locked down, and 40 million people ended up unemployed over a couple months, and all the schools closed down. And so then it became, what is this consequential response? And it's really nuts, because when you look at control groups, or let's say different countries that did different things. So Brazil had a light lockdown, and Sweden had virtually none, and Germany's was a little lighter.
Sure.
You can't really find any trending data or correlating data that says masks stunt this or lockdowns stunt this. What you really see is that the harder you try, the worse you do. So the countries and states that locked down the hardest, they've actually been hit the worst. And so now you're seeing, like, for example, France and Spain, those two countries combined have about as many cases as the U.S. is on a daily basis right now, and they locked down hard. Sweden, which didn't lock down at all and got highly criticized, the U.S. passed Sweden for the first time today in deaths per million, and Sweden is getting no hospitalizations, no cases, no deaths. They seem to be completely clear. So it's hard to from a data perspective to justify the masks or the lockdowns or the schools, because there's nothing correlating to it that says do this and you get a better effect. You don't. It's a virus. It's going to run its course, and when it's done, it seems to be done.
Sure. That's very fascinating that the more you try and suppress it and the more you try and lock down, that you actually see long-term, I guess, more of an effect of it. Does that really reinforce, maybe on the medical side of this, does that reinforce maybe the concept of herd immunity? I know they talked about it just a week or so ago, saying that we can't have herd immunity because they just found out that you apparently lose your antibodies after a couple of months and you could potentially get it a secondary time. But originally, viruses usually say, okay, if we get the herd immunity as a large sum of the population has immunities to this, then it'll just run its course and kind of die off and do its thing. And if we lock down and try and keep everybody isolated from it, as soon as we slowly begin to open up, we see those numbers up again, as opposed to just everybody getting it and then moving on. That kind of reinforces that argument, doesn't it?
So it totally reinforces the argument. But here's the thing that's sort of nuts, Andy, is that everybody, well, I say everybody, a lot of the politicians and a number in the mainstream media, they focus on only one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is the economic, social, and health impacts, the consequences of the lockdown. There's two things going on. So right now what we are about 240,000 excess deaths this year over our previous 3-year average. 240,000. About 110,000 of those are clearly traceable to COVID-19. That's real. COVID-19 has really impacted us an extra 110,000 or so. Mm-hmm. But what you also see is that the lockdowns are causing kind of an equivalent number of that. So what you've got is overdoses are up, suicides are up, depression. These are all things we call deaths of despair. But you're seeing other increases in things like cardiac issues, diabetes, things that weren't treated. Alzheimer's deaths are up over their 5-year average. Cancer diagnoses are up. So you're going to end up seeing, I predicted in my book, which I wrote in April, most of it in April, I predicted that we would have a greater deaths of despair count than COVID-19 fatalities by the end of 2021. It looks like that's going to happen this year, which is shocking. So there's two levers at play, and we only really talk about one of them, the COVID issue, not the consequences of the lockdowns, not too much in the schools and kids slipping behind. And,
sure.
you know.
Well, and that that went into unfortunately, it played into the political, because Donald Trump had talked about that early on, not wanting to shut down the economy, being concerned about people financially struggling and crime going up and domestic abuse and then suicide and addiction and everything that goes along with being locked down, staying at home and not being able to bring in an income. I mean, unfortunately, that issue is real, but it got so politicized because Trump mentioned it. When Trump mentioned it, then all of a sudden the media on the other side of the aisle thinks that it's absolutely untrue and that Trump's just talking out as you know what. So unfortunately, it is happening. You're right, but they didn't like to talk about that. And that almost seems like it's almost half of the deaths that we're seeing right now with that increase compared to the annual average. So the big question is the response that we've seen in the United States compared to what the actual consequences of COVID-19 actually were from the actual medical side of this. Did we see the lockdowns validate the reasoning for COVID, or did we go a little overboard with this?
So we went overboard, Andy, and here's why. Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of forgiveness that can be exercised to the lockdowns with those decisions in March, because there were a few unknowns. That model that I mentioned with the 2.2 million deaths, that predicted in a worst-case scenario a single-day peak shortfall of ICUs in the country, a tenfold shortfall. So a 10-to-1 ratio of people that couldn't even get into an ICU. In a best-case scenario, it was a threefold shortfall. So you can see why that we locked down. And again, while I didn't think the math added up, a lot of A lot of decisions, a lot of pressure in a very short time frame. But by early April, it was very clear not even New York was at capacity, and the hospitals were going broke. I mean, literally, when you shut down all the other non-COVID activities in a hospital, there were like tumbleweeds blowing down hospitals. That's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
And it's the shocking thing that a lot of people don't realize is the healthcare industry practically went broke. If they didn't get a bailout, they would have gone under. Sure. I mean, a number of independent and hospital chains would have, as well as family care practitioners, specialists, things like that.
It's unfortunate. It really is. Michael Betrus, it is the author, COVID-19 Lockdowns on Trial. Find it on Amazon along with other places. Michael, it's great information. I really appreciate the time. We got to get you back on and get another update here soon.
I would love that.
Hey, I appreciate it very much. Yeah, we'll definitely get him back on because this is some really interesting information, just the raw facts from the beginning to now on COVID-19. Make sure to check it out. COVID-19 Lockdowns on Trial. We got a lot to get to here on The Voice of Reason. Stay tuned here on a Friday.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Missed part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on The Voice of Reason and the Hoosier Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with The Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosier-holic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe to any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hoosier Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com.
For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hooser Media Network, visit us on the website at HooserReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the show.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, welcome back into the show. Great to have you along for the ride today. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it very much. So I am having some issues with the Facebook Live feed. Not sure if it's actually going on the way it needs to. Mine's coming up and saying having difficulties showing this video, so I'm not sure if it's actually airing or not. I see some people chatting on there, so that's at least nice, but yeah, if you do there, then share it on, leave a comment, let me know that everything's running all smoky and hunky-dory. We appreciate it no matter where you may be. Radio, TV, live streaming, podcasting, doesn't really matter. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the show. So there is a stat where 60% of Americans have chosen to eat more plant-based food during COVID-19 because of the pandemic. I don't understand why. I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense to me. But 60% of people, I guess, going more. But now, they're not stopping eating meat, but they're eating more plant-based food. A little bothersome to me. I mean, to me, that would be an issue because I need meat. I need to eat meat. But here's what the story says. Nearly 60% of respondents in the National General Population Survey says they strongly agree or somewhat agree when asked whether their eating habits were increasingly shifting to plant-based, with 39% of participants, 18 to 25-year-olds, and 23% of participants, 26 to 41 years old, stating that their diets have already excluded animal products. I don't know why COVID has anything to do with that other than the fact that they are concerned maybe with the meat processing plants during COVID, and they were concerned about the spreading of it, even though they said that it wouldn't spread by food. I think that's an environmentalist thing. What do you think? As we talk about COVID and the ways that it's changed us, how has it changed you? Has it changed your habits going out in public? Has it changed your habits with shaking people's hands? I'm a handshaker. Personally, I am a handshaker. I like to shake people's hands. That's my way of looking them in the eye, shaking their hands with a nice firm grip and saying, hey, you know, you can trust me, or a deal, or everything is hunky-dory, or I respect you, or whatever the message may be. But I'm a handshaker. A lot of people don't want to shake hands anymore. They do the whole elbow bump. Not much into the elbow bump. Not much into the fist bump either thing. So I like to shake hands, but I'm trying to not do so now because of COVID. How has it changed you? I don't know. Joe Biden, how's it changed you?
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it.
Yeah, all right. Well, I guess it changed quite a bit, too. I do have, by the way, some audio clips of Joe Biden coming up later in the show we're going to have some fun with at the end of the program, because his wife is now coming out trying to defend him. The media, when they begin to actually acknowledge the fact that he's losing and starting to slip in the polls, and that he's going out trying to campaign, and he sounds like he's falling asleep while he's talking, but his wife's coming out trying to validate his mental state, saying, oh, he's great, he's doing like phone calls all the time, and he's doing Skype meetings all the time, then you know that something's wrong. They realize it's finally starting to impact them, so they're finally responding to it. They don't usually respond to things unless it's starting to finally hit them, and they realize, oh, wow, maybe we need to address this issue. But it's affecting Joe Biden. Maybe it's because he's not eating meat. I don't know. People that lose their protein usually seem to get a little bit more sick. They are more prone to illnesses, and maybe he's just not eating meat. But the question apparently is why 60% of Americans now eating more plant-based foods amid the COVID-19 pandemic, more than likely due to the fear of the meatpacking plants. But we are at least living here in the state of Kansas, where I'm at, in the Mid-America region, really not just Kansas, but all over the areas here. Meat's kind of important, and it's a livelihood for a lot of people. So go out and eat some more meat. What do you say? Go have a big burger. It's Labor Day weekend coming up. Go eat a big burger. Go have a grand old time, because you need to, and because we can't live our fear with COVID-19. My question to you is, how many are actually going to be wearing face masks going into the holiday? Because not me, not this guy, but some may. I don't know. It depends on where you go and what you do. I don't know why you need to wear a mask if you're water skiing on the lake, but nonetheless, that's what they do advocate for, because they say, even though it could stop it 40% of the time, COVID will spread every time. It's called a joke. Bottom of the hour coming up. When we come back, we'll shift gears a little bit, talk about election time and more here on The Voice of Reason for a Friday. Stay right here.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
The Hooser Media Network is way more than just the voice of reason. It's your source to find numerous different online talk shows, podcasts, TV, and radio programs, all in one simple online location for you. From political talk to health talk to whatever you may be interested in, we're here for you. And I tell you, it's growing every day. Catch Tracy Maxfield with her podcast Engage, Educate, and Empower, discussing mental health issues in children and teenagers. From bullying, teenage suicide, addiction, ADHD, and so much more, learn from Tracy and her guests about symptoms, signs, and ways to talk to your children, plus so much more. Having battled depression, being the author of the internationally acclaimed book Escaping the Rabbit Hole, and being a retired nurse, Tracy is kind of the go-to on the subject. Make sure to find her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, along with her website at tracymaxfield.com. Also, make sure to tune into the weekly podcast Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy. Taking that next big leap of faith is hard. Trying to write a book, maybe struggling with a relationship, looking to take that next big career step. What's stopping you? There's a lot of big questions there, and they're questions that Rachel and Shannon want to help with you each and every week. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll on any of your favorite podcasting sites and on Facebook and YouTube. All of these shows and a heck of a lot more can be found on the Hooser Media Network Facebook and YouTube channels. Make sure to follow and subscribe to check them out today. Follow all the shows, and if you have any inquiries, check us out at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with The Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network.
When Reason Meets Radio. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the show. Thanks for hanging out with us, no matter where you may be, live streaming, radio, TV, podcasting, doesn't matter. Thanks for doing it. I did get some messages saying that the Facebook Live is working fine for people, so thank you for that. However, I am also getting messages from people saying that it's not showing up on their news feed, so therefore they can't find it. Even when they go to my page, it's not coming up as something that's readily available, and they have to search for it a little bit longer. So I think Facebook's still playing their shenanigan games. Who knows? But if you can find us on there, you can find us at Hooser Reason on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, also on Parler. We are on Parler as well. Minds.com. You can find it all at Hooser Reason. That's no I in Hoosier, just at Hooser Reason. You can find us on all those and follow us, subscribe to us. We appreciate that. Plus, the newsletter did officially go out today. I think just a little bit ago, actually. It went out this afternoon. And so if you did sign up for that, which we do have a lot of people signing up. Every month we get another 5, 6, 10, 15 new subscribers, which is awesome. I love seeing it continuously grow. There's yet to be a new newsletter where we haven't seen a new large mass number of people actually sign up for. So thank you for that. You can go to HooserReason.com. You can watch the live streaming, watch the podcasting, sign up for the newsletter. You get it at the beginning of each month. We may send 1 or 2 other emails throughout the month. We haven't lately. It's just been the top of the month newsletter with the new blog. There are new questionnaires on the website as well, so you can go on there and do the little survey. It's like 2 or 3 questions, super easy, and get your thoughts on some stuff, and we'll start reading those on the air as well. Just go to HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Trying to rebrand the millennial generation, one radio listener at a time, trying to cram 10 pounds of reason into that 5-pound bag because there's way too much to talk about and so little time to actually do it at a reasonable rate. So thanks for hanging out with us today on a Friday. So we have a headline for Mark Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg warns of post-election violence. I love how the left can create narratives and then be like, aha, see, I told you so. If you remember, you have, let's see, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, and other Democrats that have said that Donald Trump's going to have to be forcefully removed from the White House, either because he lost the election and he'll refuse to accept the results of the election, or because he's just a tyrant and the election's going to be rigged if he wins the election, and therefore we're going to have to physically remove him with the military. Either one, in either way, we're going to remove Donald Trump from office. Now imagine this, if you will. Put this into your mind, close your eyes, and ponder this for a second. Donald Trump wins the election in a massive landslide because we see tons of people excited about Donald Trump. We see tons of people sick and tired of the anger and the hatred that's coming from the left. We see tons of people tired of the anarchy from people rioting and protesting and looting that the Democrats, by the way, have endorsed and tried to support. And they don't call them terrorists. They call them peaceful protesters. They're sick and tired of it. They don't like the direction the party's going. And many Democrats have come over to the Republican side to even vote for Donald Trump because even though they may not like what he tweets, they still think he's more about law and order and Americanism than what the Democrats are. Imagine, if you will, that Donald Trump wins 300 electoral college votes, 300, 320, 350. He dominates the election. And the Democrats say, we don't accept the results of it. We're going to sue you because you tried to defund the U.S. Postal Service, which isn't the case, by the way. But you tried to defund the Postal Service. You rigged the election. Russia and China tried to help you. Therefore, you're not a legitimate president, like they've been saying for the last 4 years already. We're going to physically remove you from office, which by in turn would lead to a civil war because they're going to rise up and continue to burn down buildings and riot and protest because it's not their fault. It's Donald Trump's America, right? It's not them that's doing it. They would just stop if he would just leave from office. It's his fault, not our fault. So they would play the victim while they're doing it, saying that it's his fault. And then they would create a revolution by trying to rise up. This is all theoretical, by the way. I'm not saying they're going to. I'm saying it's not unlikely with how they're acting right now, with the children that we're having to deal with on the other side of the aisle. And then they would say, look at that. The Republicans are inciting violence. In fact, according to the latest poll, according to thehill.com, 9 in 10 voters say that civil unrest is a key issue going into the presidential race. Now, that could only help Donald Trump, would it not? He's the one that's been advocating for law and order. Why do you think Joe Biden ended up choosing Kamala Harris as a running mate, as a prosecuting attorney, as the former attorney general for the state of California, and for someone who's thrown lots of minorities into prison for very small, insignificant crimes? They chose her to be that running mate. Why do you think that is? Because she's going to be the law and order gal. So now Joe Biden's on the campaign trail saying, we do not condemn those violence and looting is the numbers, you can just figure it out. We don't condone that. We like peaceful protests. He's falling asleep while he's trying to say and trying to condemn the protest or the violence and the anarchists out there while supporting the protests. And now the protesters that are on their side, by the way, where the DNC and the co-chair of the Democrat National Committee ended up, taking pictures with the Antifa hand guide and all these other radical groups that are trying to piggyback on the Democrats that they're embracing, by the way. They're now trying to distance themselves from it. And while they're saying that Donald Trump is now advocating for voting twice, which is not true in any way, shape, or form, this is the ridiculousness of the left. Either they're playing ignorantly dumb or they're truly just ignorantly dumb. Yesterday, we played the clip of the White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, and with her going after Nancy Pelosi, which was hysterical, by the way. But right after that press conference, they didn't ask about Nancy Pelosi or even tried to catch up Donald Trump attacking Nancy Pelosi. Oh, no. It was Donald Trump tweeted about voting twice, and that's illegal in America. This was her response.
You're missing a very crucial line from the president's remarks. If it is not tabulated, meaning your mail-in vote, then you will be able to vote in person. If it is not tabulated.
There are at least 5 states in this country that do not count any mail-in votes until Election Day. So those votes won't be counted until afterwards. So there's no way to know whether or not their vote is
There's a very simple answer, and this is how it works. First, a lot of states have what are called electronic poll books. And what this means is that in real time, this is updated. So if your vote is counted, they check the electronic poll book, and you will not be able to vote in person because your vote has been counted. There's a secondary situation. So those who do not have electronic poll books, every single state in the country, you can cast a provisional ballot. And that is a ballot that is there. And if your vote that you have not mailed in is not counted, they will then count the provisional ballot. And that is exactly what the president's referring to. But what Democrats are doing is saying this: we want an entire new system for voting, one subject to fraud. Don't take it from me, take it from Jimmy Carter, who said in 2005, as part of a bipartisan commission, absentee ballots remain the largest source of potential voter fraud. So what Democrats want you to do is say, trust us, but don't verify. Don't verify that your vote's been counted. This president's trying to enfranchise Americans, which is exactly what he's been saying. He wants every American to have a vote because he understands what Jimmy Carter understood and what so many of us understood until the president started putting the focus on mail-in voting, and that was this: that it is subject to fraud. Every vote should count, and every American should verify that their vote is counted by going to their polling location.
All right, can we just admit, by the way, that audio from the White House Facebook page with their press conference yesterday, can we just admit that she is like the super rock star of the White House?
Winning.
That's what I'm talking about. Mic drop right there. So to break it into layman terms for people that are like, huh? So to break it in, what he advocated for was that, you know what, if you mail in your vote and you're not sure whether it got counted or not, go into the precinct on Election Day. And you can do one of two things. If you have a state that has the electronic ticker, then even if they didn't count the vote yet, they'll say, oh, look at that. Yes, we received your mail-in ballot. You're good to go. You don't need to vote. See you later. Have a nice day, and thanks for voting. If they don't have that, you have these crazy ballots called provisional ballots. And we had them here in the state of Kansas. Most states have provisional ballots, which means if you're not sure that you're registered to vote, if you're not sure that you're voting in the right precinct, if you're not sure about the information on your voter registration, if you're not sure whether you voted already or not, meaning like mail-in ballots, if there's any question on whether or not you should be able to vote, then you can fill out a provisional ballot. And what the states do is this is common sense stuff, by the way, too. And if the media, who's involved in politics their entire life, obviously, if they're doing White House press conferences, don't know about provisional ballots, then good golly, man. Provisional ballots, you fill it out if you have any question whatsoever about your validity to be able to register to vote, to actually go and vote. If some states have same-day voter registration like they do in some of the East Coast states, you can do the same-day voter registration, but yet you don't have some of the information. Here in Kansas, we used to have at least some more stringent voter ID laws, and if you're not sure whether you had the right documentation, or if you moved and you're not sure whether the registration actually moved with you, you fill out a provisional ballot, and the state or the county or the precinct holds on to that ballot, goes through after the election, verifies all the information to see whether you're legitimately can be counted that way or not, and then they count it or they don't count it. It's a good thing to hand out massive amounts of provisional ballots. And I want to use Kansas just because I'm here and I know the election laws here relatively more so than other states. Kansas hands out more provisional ballots than any state in the Mid-America region, and that's a good thing. And they criticized our former Secretary of State because of it, because he put in one of the most stringent voter ID laws in the country. And he's actually worked with President Trump on voter ID stuff. He worked with Vice President Mike Pence on the Voter Integrity Commission that unfortunately dismantled after about 6 months because they got sued so many times trying to verify that voting records were accurate. Because how dare we actually verify that there's no voter fraud going on? But provisional ballots are easy. You hand them out in masses if you have any question on whether you should be allowed to vote or whether you can vote or whether it's already been counted and you already did vote. You hand it out. They vote, and then you hold on to it to verify, and then you decide whether to count it or not. That's a good process. Now, Donald Trump is not advocating for you to go and vote twice. He is advocating, though, if you're concerned about your mail-in ballot being counted, to either go and check if you have that electronic system or fill out a provisional ballot and have them hang on to it until the election is over to see whether it actually gets counted or whether, nope, they voted by mail, we toss out the provisional, it's all good. That's the way the system works, and that's a good way for you to verify and double-check to make sure that everything's running hunky-dory. But the left, putting on the blinders, acting stupid, and saying, we don't know what's going on. Donald Trump wants us to vote twice. Makes my head hurt. Good golly. All right, we'll wrap it up, change gears, and have some fun in the last segment here on The Voice of Reason. Stay tuned.
Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the voice of reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com.
Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the program today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites and have the show automatically downloaded to your phone or computer every single day. Just find us on any podcasting site or go to HooserReason.podbean.com. And be sure to check out our Patreon site, become the ultimate Hooserholic, and help us fight for conservative values every day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Now back to the national broadcast of the Voice of Reason.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into it. Great to have you today for the ride, no matter where you may be. Radio, TV, live, streaming, podcasting. Thanks for hanging out with us, especially on a Friday. I know that you're itching to get into your weekend, and maybe this is the way you celebrate your weekend and your holiday, which, if it is, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's what we call a dedicated Hoosier-holic, baby. You just can't get enough of it. Jonesing for it each and every day. Welcome into it as we wrap up the show, trying to get into a great holiday weekend. All right, so I want to shift gears just for a minute and have a little fun for the last few minutes of the program. Joe Biden, hat tip to Fox News and the Ingram angle on this one. Joe Biden came out to defend her husband, Joe Biden, because, of course, he has been attacked for not being quite all there, being a little old, saying some really silly, dumb things, and she says that his mental state is absolutely muy perfect.
Joe's on the phone every single minute of the day, talking to governors who are calling him, and Nancy Pelosi. He's on the Zoom. He's doing fundraisers. He's doing briefings.
I wonder if he was on the Zoom when she was getting her hair done. Boom, baby. That was funny right there. I don't care who you are. That's funny right there. So you have Jill Biden going out and defending. Now, the reason that she has to say these things is because they're finally starting to get some heat from it. When he falls asleep, or almost falls asleep during interviews, when he speaks so quietly and softly like he's sick or that he's about ready to fall asleep, and people are concerned, gee, is he really the guy that's going to be able to answer that 3 a.m. phone call as president of the United States? Could he really lead the nation the way that we need him to? When you start questioning the validity that way, things start to get a little serious. But the fact that she has to validate it by not just try to validate it, but try to validate based on saying he's taking tons of phone calls and he's doing tons of Zoom meetings to try and make him sound like he's busy all the time, reminds me, to me at least, reminds me of the old skit that used to come out of The Onion. Remember this one? When it came to Obama's teleprompter.
Hiccup yesterday at the White House after President Obama's home teleprompter reportedly malfunctioned during a family dinner. Onion News Network Washington correspondent Jane Carmichael joins us now with more. Jane, tell us what exactly happened over there.
Well, Anna, last night in the middle of a conversation with Malia about raising her allowance, President Obama's home teleprompter suddenly went blank. He sort of froze mid-sentence, but after a few seconds of silence, Obama was able to call up his prepared remarks from memory.
So it didn't differ at all, basically, from the copy of the dinner conversation that had been sent over to reporters beforehand?
Right, that's right. It was almost verbatim.
Wow.
He hit all the points about Malia needing to get at least a B in math and trying to get onto the soccer team, just in a different order than they were written.
Well, White House Deputy Press Secretary Brenda Inglet briefly addressed this error today. Let's take a look.
Look, the president has hundreds of conversations every day, and it simply isn't feasible for him to memorize the text for every single one. The prompter is really just a tool to help the president remember to speak, blink, and breathe.
And look, Obama is always open about the fact that he works with a team of talented writers on every remark he makes.
Yeah, absolutely. The prompters just help make sure he doesn't say the wrong thing at any point ever.
Exactly. He would write his conversations himself, but he's just too busy.
He's the president.
He does make sure, though, to look over and edit any asides or offhand remarks he didn't personally script them.
Of course. You know, Jane, it seems like the president has gotten better at using the teleprompter since the campaign.
Yes,
we all remember that horrible pumpkin patch incident before the election when the wind blew the prompter over in the middle of picking pumpkins with the girls.
That's right, causing Obama to fumble around awkwardly, drop the pumpkin he was holding, and refer to Sasha as Jennifer.
And there was the caps lock incident.
Oh, yes. Obama nearly shouted himself hoarse over the course of that speech. And there were various mix-ups where teleprompter operators displayed the wrong lines. Once it caused him to say, I played a little basketball myself in high school after sampling a piece of Cape Cod saltwater taffy.
Boy, the GOP had a field day with that one.
Obama was furious about it. He had his staff put a long, angry rant into the teleprompter for him to scream at them.
I remember that. But, you know, also, Jane, we should point out that Obama's not the first president to use scripted interactions.
No.
Ronald Reagan was known for using cue cards, for instance.
Yes, exactly right. And, of course, Joe Biden is known for reading his remarks off his arm where he's written them in magic marker.
Exactly, right. Well, Jane, thank you so much for that report. We appreciate it, as always.
Thank you, Anna.
There it is. All right, so that's hat tip to The Onion. If you're not familiar with The Onion, that's called satire. But I'm starting to notice a trend between Joe Biden and Barack Obama. Couldn't speak without the teleprompter. Obama was known for that one, and Joe Biden just can't speak at all.
Come on, man.
I know. All right, that's all right. That's the way that you work, and if that's the way you roll, then all the power to you. Hopefully you can stay awake long enough in order to continue and campaign for you. But maybe you may fall asleep, not quite sure. And You can't speak without the teleprompter because you'll really start to stutter, and you even stutter during the teleprompter. I'm just throwing it out there, but let's validate you based on the fact that you do Zoom calls and phone conversations. We don't know the quality of them, but by golly, your wife said that you take a lot of phone calls and Zoom meetings, especially with Nancy Pelosi when she's getting her hair done. That does about does it for us today on a Friday. Everybody have a great holiday weekend. We'll be back at it on Tuesday, same time, same place. We'll see you on the radio there. Next week is a big one. We have a laundry list of great guests coming on the program, plus Friday is going to be our great commemoration for 9/11. We'll do that on Friday next week. Until then, be your own voice of reason. It's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is the voice of reason. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you on the radio next Tuesday. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com.